Okay, so this is my Prosport Evo boost gauge that I've just recently ordered. I have a 2013 Subaru WRX. This gauge here is going to measure the suction in inches in mercury, and then as you accelerate, it's going to change to the pounds per square inch of boost that the turbo is providing. Now here you have the intercooler. The intercooler is going to take air from the outside via the hood scoop, help cool down the turbo, as well as provide air for the turbo to use to provide boost. For those of you that don't know, a turbo takes air in. It's going to use fans that are spinning at a very high rate to compress air to force into the engine to help with the air-fuel ratio and provide the car with a nice little bit of extra horsepower. Here you have the turbo itself. Not the greatest picture. The turbo is kind of hidden up under the engine in this car, but gives you a little bit of idea where the turbo is and what it kind of looks like. The part you're looking at here is the wastegate. Turbos are going to take the air that isn't used in the boost process and exit it out towards the wastegate. We're going to use this wastegate to take that extra air to tell me exactly how much pressure the turbo is putting out. That way I'm not damaging the car in any way, and I can keep track of making sure my turbo is running in good shape. Now to start this process, I'd enter a little T-splice here. The T-splice is just going to allow the normal function of the turbo and the engine while at the same time providing the air that's going to be necessary to go towards the boost gauge. Down the road here a little bit, you'll be seeing the entire circuit of that. But this is just the way to start the process. You just cut a little piece into the rubber there, and we're off. Probably the most important piece in this entire set here, this little filter right here. It's just going to keep any debris coming from the turbo that may happen to get sucked up into that turbo from entering down the line, clogging any air from getting to the boost gauge, or causing a rip in any of the lines to get an inaccurate reading, or perhaps even caused more damage to the turbo than could already been possible. This is just the rest of the tubes here running from that filter. You're going to see it run up and into a little black box, which is the sensor for the boost gauge, just the electric little sensor there. This little black box is just going to take the air that's coming through on the left hand side through that tube there, and that's going to put an electrical output towards the wires that you see coming out of the right hand side, just to send to the boost gauge. That's where it goes from being a mechanical to an electrical signal. I'm not any scientist, but I just know that that's where the transmission starts. Here we have those wires coming from that black box. You're going to see the two on the left hand side are going to extend down into the engine bay to enter into the car, whereas the one on the right is going to be grounded. Just pick the closest screw I could find in the engine bay. You always want to make sure you're always grounding your wires properly. The last thing you want is a fire in your engine bay caused by a short circuit or a blown fuse. Now here we have those wires. This is the inside of the left wheel well on the driver's side. Those wires just ran down through the engine and into the wheel well, and then they're going to see in the next little photo clip that you're about to see through the engine well, or through the wheel well, out of the engine and into the car. There's a little rubber grommet that goes from the wheel well into the dash of the car there. Kind of a little tough spot to get to. Kind of had to use a Phillips flathead screwdriver and a coat hanger and just kind of poke and prod until I was able to reach around and grab the wires from the other side. A little bit harder to see up in the top right of the corner. You can see where those wires are entering in from that rubber grommet. Like I said, again, real pain to get to, but it's a lot easier than taking off the intercooler and trying to get to the rubber grommet that's right behind the CD player. A little bit quicker and a little bit sloppier, but again, takes a lot more work to go up under that intercooler and through the engine bay the other way. Now the last step was to connect the wires to the wires that they gave me for the actual boost gauge, and then to splice them into these fuse box connectors that you see that are in pink here. There's currently 3 of them. Those just allow me to access the fuse box for my power, so that way the boost gauge isn't constantly running, as well as turn the lights on from green and white that you'll see a little bit later. And as well as one more time, you just want to make sure you're always grounding your wires properly. That's up under the brake where nobody can reach it. It won't get jogged loose. That way I'm making sure that I'm not going to get shocked and there's not going to be a fire started in my car. Again, if you're going to do this, make sure you're always grounding your wires properly, picking a nice metal surface. Little acceleration clip here. This is a 3rd gear pull. Okay, so now as you can see here, the boost gauge right now is measuring -23, meaning that the turbo is taking in 22 inches of mercury of suction at an idle standpoint. Bounces between 22 to 24, right where the manufacturer says it should be. Now one of the nice little features about this Evo, the Prosport Evo boost gauge, is it does have a daytime and a nighttime setting if you did want. This gauge is a white and green color, so during the day I have it switched to white, and at night when I flip the headlights on, it automatically switches to a green. So during the day when I have the white on and you can see the other part of my car and my dashboard are kind of just white and red, then at night I can switch to green, and it kind of just gives it a little bit of a flare, a little bit of a standout. Nothing that really helps with performance, but it gives it a nice little look for people riding the car. And anybody that is looking at purchasing a boost gauge down the road, I highly recommend this one to anybody.